This is our third video on the production possibilities curve, and in this case, in this video, we're going to focus in on the production possibilities chart rather than the production possibilities graph. And at the end of the video, you should be able to calculate the trade-offs when we look at a production possibilities chart or schedule. And again, to refresh our memories, a production possibilities curve, or in this case a chart, is showing the different production possibilities, the different production outcomes for a particular firm. In this case, I've chosen Apple Corporation. And they have various, in this case, 4 production possibilities in terms of producing iPads versus producing iPhones. If they choose to put all of the resources into the production of iPhones, all of the resources go into the production of iPhones, that leaves no resources available for the production of iPads, so you produce 0 iPads. On the other end of the spectrum, if you put all the resources into the production of iPads, you would be able to produce 3 iPads. However, you have no resources available to produce iPhones, and therefore you produce 0 iPhones. And there's a couple possibilities in between. You produce some iPads, you have fewer iPhones, and so forth. And in this video, we're going to talk about how do you calculate the trade-off. So let's talk about, well, what does it cost you to produce the first iPad? If you're at this production possibility, producing all iPhones and iPads, and Apple Corporation decides that they wanted to produce some iPads, they would go from 0 to 1. So 1 iPad costs Apple Corporation something in terms of iPhones, because you have to take some of the resources that you were using to produce the iPhone and put it into the production of the iPad. As a result, you produce fewer iPhones, in this case 8 iPhones. Therefore, you lost 2 iPhones with the production of the iPad. The first iPad cost Apple Corporation 2 iPhones in the production. The next iPad, the second iPad, but keep in mind that's 1 iPad, happens to be the second one, costs them some iPhones. You're putting more resources into the production of iPads, fewer resources available for the production of iPhones, and in this case, it costs you 3, the difference between 8 and 5. An additional iPad costs you more iPhones. Now, a couple things as to why this is going on. Why is Apple Corporation producing more iPads and fewer iPhones? Presumably, somewhere in the mix is Apple Corporation has made a decision that they're making more money producing iPads than iPhones, so they're going to put resources into the production of iPads rather than iPhones. That's self-interest thing kicking in. The second thing you might have noticed is that each successive iPad costs more in terms of iPhones. And you might be asking, well, why is that? And the first thing I want to remember is what this is called is the law of increasing opportunity costs. Law of increasing opportunity costs. And the reason for that is as such. The first iPad, if you're an Apple Corporation, the first iPad requires you to take some resources out of the production of iPhones and put it into the production of iPads. Which resources would you, as the CEO, as the plant manager, take out of the production of iPhones and put into the production of iPads? And logically, if you were running the division, running the plant, you would take the resources that are most capable of producing iPads and have them produce the iPads. For example, if this was a different example, and this was LaSalle High School, and you were looking at economics teachers or economics students and English students, which resource would LaSalle put into the production of producing econ students? Well, you take those teachers that are most capable of doing that. Similarly, Apple Corporation takes the resources that are most capable of producing the iPad and puts them into the production of the iPad first. As a result, they need fewer resources, they give up fewer resources, and they lose fewer iPhones when compared to the next iPad. Now you're using sort of the next best set of resources. So you have to use a few more of those resources, they're not quite as good, and that costs you more iPhones. Similarly, by the time you get down here, these folks aren't very good at making iPads. You have to use a lot of them to get that that next iPad produced. As a result of using a lot of them, you had to give up a lot of resources on the iPhone side. So that's why this law of increasing cost is the way it is. So, quick review. How do you calculate the trade-offs? Well, you're comparing the production possibilities, and when you pick up the one, you had to give up something over here. You picked up one here, you lost two here. You picked up one here, you lost three here. This concept of trade-offs. Also, the law of increasing opportunity costs. Now, one last wrinkle on this. Let's say you were trying to figure out, well, what's the cost of the first iPhone? If Apple Corporation was producing all iPads, no iPhones, the question would be, well, what does it cost them to produce the first iPhone? And there is no 0 to 1, so you don't know what the first iPhone costs you. You do know that the first 5 iPhones cost you one iPad. But you want to know what the first iPhone costs you, not what the first 5 iPhones cost you. So you divide this by 5 to turn it into a 1, and you divide this by 5 to get the answer. So one iPhone costs you 1/5 of an iPad. Now, if you're talking Apple Corporation, you're talking 1 million iPhones cost you 200,000 iPads. And that's how you calculate it when there isn't a 0 to 1. Similarly, if you want to know what does the last iPhone cost me? Well, I know what the last two cost. When you go from 8 to 10, it cost me one iPad. Again, you divide 3 by 2 to turn that into 1, divide that by 2, and it costs you 1/2. And again, that law of increasing opportunity cost works both ways. As you go for the trade-offs this way, trade-offs that